Good morning, everyone, and we're delighted to be here, and thank you very much for the invitation. I'm David Richardson, and I work with Cookstown District Council, and I'm going to explain the council side to this partnership agreement and partnership that we're working with Northern Bioenergy and Alan here, and Alan can lead on from that and explain the farmer, grower, producer and supplier side of everything. It started for us quite some time ago, 11 years ago now, in 2003. Very much the alternative energy in Northern Ireland was in its infancy. There was very little happening. I think, as already has been explained, the guys up at Loughgall at the Agricultural Research Institute have been experimenting and growing willows and looking at things like that from this past 30 years. In 2003, the Council commissioned a report looking at the potential for the utilisation of alternative energy sources at a range of premises within the district. As a result of that, it was deemed to be the most feasible at that time was looking at the possibility of willows producing wood fuel to heat a large heat user. And from that, there was two facilities identified, the leisure centre being one of them, and Copeland's, a large manufacturing plant, was the second one. Unfortunately, Copeland's didn't proceed any further than that. At that time, they couldn't draw a sound enough business case from it, but I think 10 years later, they're regretting the decision that they didn't move with us at that time. From the council point of view, what we wanted to achieve, money's everything, local authorities, everything has to be best value for money, keep the cost of everything down. We were running a leisure centre at in excess of £1 million of a loss every year, taking in everything from the energy it consumed, the staff and the entire running of it, and that is fairly typical of any local authority leisure centre. On that side, on the heating element was over 200,000 sterling each year. We wanted to reduce the cost of that. There's also the duty on district councils to reduce carbon emissions from their buildings, and then on a more positive side, we wanted to see how we could achieve those first two objectives within the local community by increasing rural employment opportunities through providing local farmers with alternative incomes and alternative businesses. A collaborative approach was adopted. The council held several public meetings, and we had to seek out landowners who were willing to plant willows for us to use in a project if it progressed. At the same time, Dard had the Forestry Service Challenge Fund opened up to provide financial assistance to anyone who wanted to establish a crop, and the council assisted 5 local farmers in applying through that fund to establish plantations in 2005 and 2006. We also, again, on a very much a partnership approach, worked through 18 different partners to access money through Interreg 3A, developed the Renew project, which was named at that stage Renewable Energy Network for Environmental Welfare. And it was a cross-border initiative working, I think, is from Derry to RD and a lot of partners in between. The objective of that was to develop a robust supply chain which at that time didn't exist. Organisations like ourselves wanted to put in biomass boilers, but there was nothing to fuel them with. Guys like Alan wanted to plant the willows, but there was no boilers anywhere to burn the resultant chip. So with a partnership approach, the willow plantations were established, and as they came along, business cases were developed and buildings identified where boilers could be installed, and then whenever the chip was ready, the boilers were in place. So the local partnership that we developed then in Cookstown involved the 5 local farmers establishing approximately 90 hectares of short rotation coppice willow, all within 5 miles of the leisure centre. And I think Alan will probably go on to explain the importance of the short deliveries, although I know the Northern Bioenergy are delivering much further afield now. but everything, I suppose, is on economies of scale. The council, the other side of the partnership, installed a 500 kilowatt biomass boiler, deemed at that time to need somewhere between 700 and 800 tonnes of willow chip per year. Funding, always very important. Now at the minute, I think funding's coming through in Northern Ireland anyway through the renewable heat incentive, payment from government for kilowatts of heat produced. The time we went at it, we looked at capital grant aid up front, and we were very, very fortunate to access a significant amount of capital grant aid, and really without that we wouldn't have been in a position to move the project forward. The boiler we put in was a Frohling, an Austrian boiler, 500 kilowatt, to be fuelled by short rotation coppice willow, and that was really to provide the base load of heat for the leisure centre. We had two 1125 kilowatt Hoval oil boilers installed there. They were installed in the late 90s. They were in perfect working order. We have kept those. The way the system was designed, it was designed for instant heat available on demand and no heat storage. So we had to work with that model because it was just far too expensive to amend the entire heating system within the leisure centre. So with that in mind, the biomass boiler provides the base load of heat. It runs constantly, it's on 24 hours a day. Through the middle of the night, whenever there's a very little heat demand, it slows down, it can go down to sleep. In the morning time, it comes back up again, up to full temperature. It never really switches off, and that way we can keep it running as efficiently as possible. A couple of photographs now just of the installation, and the important thing I want to just demonstrate from this slide is the split level site we used. The concrete hard standing, go back. The concrete hard standing here was ramped up right up to the top of where the guys are sliding those rails in, and the fuel store is the piece that they're constructing at the minute. The boiler house sits in the low side of that, so that was to maximise the fuel storage. Next slide is just a plan view of it, the fuel store on the right, the boiler on the left, and that's the cutaway workings of the boiler itself. All very fascinating stuff back 10 years ago whenever we were looking at it, because it was totally new to us guys. As regards project costs, they're listed there, as you can see, fairly significant sums of money, in the region of €350,000 to deliver the capital elements of the project there, and the fees and things from the council side. A number of challenges that we had to overcome. I suppose the partnership was a big one to start with. Council was used to going in, writing a tender, setting it out, appointing a contract, and getting someone to deliver something for them. A very, very different way of doing it. Now I was working in a partnership to try to bring everything together. It was new technology, as I've said, funding challenges, I've already mentioned. Fuel specification and deliveries was another one for us. Whenever we went off looking for a specification, the European specification was only in draft format, so that has now been finalised, and it leaves a much simpler form of contract in specifying the fuel. Boiler maintenance and cleaning, maybe according to Alan, still something of a challenge for the council. Very, very different. Two oil boilers serviced once a year. A biomass boiler needs looked at once a day, and serviced probably once every 3 months. So where are we now? Did we meet the original objectives? Is the system working? And really, is the partnership working? We'll take each one in turn, and we'll go back to one of the early slides there about the need to reduce energy costs. From about 200,000 sterling a year, we've got them down to about 125,000 sterling. Carbon emissions have been reduced over the 6 years since the boiler has been installed by 2,400 tonnes. The Northern Bioenergy, Alan's company here, has been formed by the group of 5 local farmers, and Northern Bioenergy purchases the willow from those individual farmers. So really, all of those objectives from the start has been met. Is the system working for us? We'll say it was installed 6 years ago. It's still working. The boiler was partially refurbished last year, and I suppose in terms of the oil usage at the centre, over the 6 years it's been running, it's been reduced by over 900,000 litres. The local partnership then, from Alan's side, they have supplied in excess of 3,000 tonnes of SRC willow chip. The contract we have with them has been extended for another year, and that really, what happens after that, I hope the partnership can continue, but anybody that's familiar with anything that's happening in local government in the north there, we're just entering the final year of the district council and borough council structure, where we're moving from 26 local councils to 11, so there's a number of amalgamations. Now fortunately we are amalgamating with Magherafelt Council to the north of us and Dungannon South Tyrone Council to the south. Dungannon Council have embarked on a project to install a small district heating network servicing their council offices, the leisure centre and the Dungannon campus of the South West College. And Magherafelt Council, in the refurbishment recently of their Greenvale Leisure Centre, have installed 2 800 kilowatt biomass boilers. So it's a good collective to be moving in with in a year's time. That's mine finished.